Hello and welcome to Physical Therapy, a movie podcast. Buckle your seatbelts.
It's gonna get bumpy.
It's gonna get bumpy. Today we're talking about a little movie from 1997 called Turbulence. My name is Kurt.
My name is Sam. We will be your flight crew for today.
Kino Lorber recently put this movie out. Sam and I have not seen it. It is I think a Christmas time airplane thriller starring Ray Liotta and Lauren Holly, and we both bought this 4K sight unseen.
Yep.
And we're going to watch it and hop right back on the microphones and tell you all about it. We're going to do like a full recap of it.
I feel like this is a movie that we both kind of talked each other into buying.
As we do.
Yeah. It was a lot of like, yo, what's up with Turbulence? And going back and forth and saying, I don't know, it's probably tight though. We're about to find out.
The poster for this movie is an airplane like flying between two skyscrapers. Mm-hmm. It appears to be on fire, and in giant epic movie poster tagline font, it says, "Can you survive the ride?" And then in the little area at the bottom of the poster, very middle bottom, where it usually says when it's coming out, it just says ahead.
Hell yeah, dude.
Can't wait for this. But first, Sam, let's talk about some plane movies that we like.
Yeah. Your dad was a pilot.
Yep.
And so was this like a genre that you guys did together?
Definitely. My dad introduced me to a lot of these movies, I would say.
Sure.
He enjoyed a lot of like old military plane movies, I would say, more than anything.
Was he an Air Force One fan?
I think he got a little too violent for my dad's taste.
Got it.
But definitely one we watched together.
Yeah. Air Force One is definitely on this list. I've talked about it at length. We've talked about it on the pod before.
Yeah.
See Air Force One. Yeah.
Top of the list, in my opinion. Absolutely the top of the list. Airplane, we mentioned last week.
Executive Decision.
I've never seen that.
Really?
That's Kurt Russell and
Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Executive Decision rules, I think.
Okay, so there are many movies, featuring airplane sequences. I think there is a more specific genre of airplane movies that I am assuming Turbulence is going to fall into, which is sort of that of a single flight, if you will. The movie is sort of structured around a single airplane taking a single flight, and most of the movie is going to take place on the plane and probably also like the ground.
Like surrounding the plane?
Yeah, surrounding the flight. So I guess those are the ones I'm specifically interested in like referencing. Is Executive Decision in that zone?
To my knowledge, to my memory, it takes place all on like one aircraft during flight.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm mixing it up, but that is what I remember most about it. Yeah, so you wouldn't throw Flight into this list then.
I've never seen Flight.
That's a late Zemeckis that I think is actually pretty good.
Okay.
You know what I've never seen but would definitely be on this list is Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes.
Same.
I think Passenger 57 is probably awesome. I have no idea if that's actually true, but I'm in for it. Kurt, would you put your beloved plane on this list? Excuse me.
I think plane has to count. They spend a lot of time off of the plane, but it's still about a plane struggling to get to its destination because of the drama of the film. So absolutely I would. One that I grew up with a lot, I mentioned my dad liking, military movies about planes especially, was a 90s movie called Memphis Belle.
I've never even heard of this.
Okay, this is about B-17 bombers in World War II. And a B-17 is a bomber that has a relatively large crew.
Okay.
I don't know how many, let's say 12 people are on this plane, with all these different stations and responsibilities. Like there's a ball turret machine gun at the bottom of this plane. It literally sits in the bottom of the plane, a guy in like a hamster ball basically with a machine gun built into it. Terrifying. And then, different gunners and people in charge of the bombs and stuff. But it follows one crew specifically on a bombing run in Europe that is horribly damaged and, may or may not make it back alive. I rewatched it in the last couple of years for the first time since I was a kid. And it's very, it's a movie. It's very heightened. It's by today's standards, a little cheesy.
Sure.
But features a really great cast of young people and worth seeing, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
What about Nonstop?
Dude. So I would throw kind of Nonstop and Flight Plan.
Yeah.
in the same category, which is like more kind of on the thriller side.
Yeah.
Of the and you know what else would be in there? The amazing Wes Craven's Red Eye.
Yes, totally. That's almost like horror plane.
Yeah.
That's like tipping over.
Yo, is Flight Plan good?
Flight Plan is like she can't find her daughter, and nobody will admit that her daughter exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flight Plan is sort of like The Lady Vanishes, but like on an airplane. The Hitchcock.
So, yeah.
And Nonstop is Liam Neeson as a sky marshal who discovers in midair that there is someone who's going to kill the crew or blow the plane up.
Yeah, I never saw it.
You never seen Nonstop?
No, is it tight?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, no, I don't think I saw this one.
Sam, what the fuck? What are we doing here?
Wait. Maybe I have. I've definitely like...
He's like getting text messages the whole time from this like unknown. He's trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah, and I just can't remember if I have seen the trailer 160 times or if I've actually seen the movie.
You know what? That's fair. My question for you, Sam, is what's up with Die Hard 2?
I was just going to bring that one up. Does that count, though? Because isn't it more like airports and multiple planes than it is just like one plane?
Is he not on a flight? Or does it... I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Got it.
But I think that's kind of one of the... I mean, at this point, it's one of the better Die Hards, but I think it's like 1 and 3 are the most liked ones.
Absolutely.
I can't believe it's taken us this long to mention it, but Con Air...
Con Air, for sure.
Come on.
What's the premise of Con Air, Sam?
Con Air is about a massive prisoner transport. Well, excuse me, let's start over. Con Air is about Nicolas Cage, who gets put in prison for killing a man in self-defense.
Yes, he uses the palm of his hand to uppercut a man in the nose, which sends his nose bone into his brain and kills him.
So he goes to prison for that. The prison that him and other criminals are in is getting shut down, so they're transporting a bunch of them. During the flight, the criminals break out and take over the plane and try to, I think, get to Mexico. Get out of the country. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The whole movie basically takes place on the plane. It's action, dark comedy, thriller. It's fucking awesome. The cast is Nicolas Cage, John Malkovich, John Cusack, Steve Buscemi, Dave Chappelle, Bubba from Forrest Gump,
Danny Trejo.
This movie's stacked.
Where's this 4K? I guess it's in the same like area as The Rock, same studio.
Yeah.
Which I think Disney owns at right now.
Oh, so it's just sitting in Nowheresville?
I don't know. Touchstone, right? Isn't that who made those?
Yes, I believe you're right. I believe you were right. Would you put The Gray on this list?
No.
Too much of it takes place not on a flight.
That's like a plane crash movie. I would put Flight of the Phoenix on here because that's a plane crash movie that stays
On the plane?
about the plane.
Oh, okay.
And about getting it back in the air.
Okay.
The original one with Jimmy Stewart is excellent. Well, I mean, we have to mention Airport, which is basically, what Airplane is spoofing primarily.
Yeah. I love a thriller or action movie or horror movie, really, for that much. I just love a movie set in one space. It's like a plane or like a haunted house or...
A plane is a perfect place for a movie. There's so much at stake, So many things can and do go wrong in these movies. I always enjoy them.
What's up with stealth?
Great question. I'm going to say that stealth is probably not good.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
It reminds me of my beloved Broken Arrow, which
okay, so that was the
doesn't count. But
that's what my question was gonna be. Does it count? Because there's like stuff with planes in it, but it's not really about the plane.
It's not about a flight, Sully.
Yep, never saw that. That's Clint, right?
Yeah. Tom Hanks as Sully Sullenberger landing the plane in the Hudson. It's good.
Do you want to know a true fact?
Sure.
Sully Sullenberger makes a cameo in Daddy's Home 2.
Oh my God. Wow.
Dude.
There you go.
The amount that Daddy's Home 2 has been making me laugh over these past couple of weeks is insane.
Wow. That's it. That's the mic drop. Sam, it's time. It's time. Sam, oh baby. I hope this movie is awesome.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I can't wait. We've talked about it on the show before, but just our love for 90s thrillers, especially ones that we're discovering for the first time, is very high.
Yep.
So the thought that there might be another good one out there
to discover.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Thanks to the beacon of light shining from Kino Lorber on these forgotten,
Truly.
mid-tier movies.
Yeah, doing God's
I
work.
love it, doing God's work. Sam, buckle up. I'll see you in the sky. Sam,
Ho, ho, ho.
we have landed after our Christmas Eve flight from hell.
Okay, so you hadn't seen this movie. I hadn't seen this movie.
Correct.
Did you know anything about this movie?
Like many of the movies we do on this show, I remembered the VHS cover fondly
Yes.
and was never allowed to see it whenever I would have been trying to see it as a kid. So I didn't know much. I knew Ray Liotta was in it, and I assumed that he hijacked a plane.
Sure.
And I knew Lauren Holly would be a flight attendant.
I started this movie on HBO probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I don't even think I made it to them getting on the plane. There's about a 20-minute stretch before they get on the plane. And I was just like, I'm kind of bored. I don't really care. Having just sat through that entire movie, I'm here to tell you that Turbulence fucking rules.
Turbulence fucking rules.
Dude.
I think we're going to try just a little bit different of a format where we'll kind of just do a longer form recap. So we will get into spoiler territory. We will cover the entirety of Turbulence here. If you don't want Turbulence spoiled, check it out for yourselves and come back to us. But
Again, this is 1997's Turbulence, a spoiler warning.
this movie came out January 10th, 1997, just a few days before my 9th birthday.
Wow, yeah.
This movie cost $55 million and had a return of 11.5.
Whoa, man.
Not great.
It's his last movie, too, that isn't TV. Robert Butler, the director.
And Robert Butler directed what else?
Nothing, really. A lot of TV. Up the Creek from 1984, which I believe has Dan Aykroyd in it. No, I'm sorry. Dan Aykroyd is nowhere near this movie.
He does a TV movie right before this called White Mile with Peter Gallagher and Alan Alda. I remember this as well because I feel like this was a VHS.
Yeah, I watched this on HBO at one point.
Yeah, it's HBO original. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid Turbulence did not do him any favors. So let's talk about the beginning of this movie.
Okay.
The very first thing you see is Ray Liotta in a small East Coast town, walking out of a toy store holding a teddy bear. We get the sense right away that he is a very kind, polite man. He's saying, "Excuse me." He's thanking a car for waiting to let him cross the street.
He holds the toy store door open and wishes the people Merry Christmas.
Exactly. Just a nice American man.
Yep. So that's cross-cut between Lauren Holly getting ready for a Christmas gathering of some kind.
Yeah, she's putting together a very beautiful spread, beautiful candlelit dinner, lots of garland, Christmas decorations.
Yeah, so it's cross-cut between that, a cop seemingly talking about Ray Liotta.
Yeah, Hector Elizondo plays an LAPD detective who had originally arrested Ray Liotta and believes he is a serial killer. And they are observing Ray Liotta from several kind of, cops in cars with binoculars and walkie-talkies. They're watching him travel from the toy store, presumably to Lauren Holly's. It's one of those like Silence of the Lambs style sequences where you see Ray Liotta and you know he's going to someone's house, and then the doorbell rings in Lauren Holly's house and she goes to answer the door.
Yeah.
But it's not Ray Liotta, and then a different woman opens her door to Ray Liotta, so you've been sort of tricked as to which house he's going to.
Yeah, we see him interact with this other woman that has been off screen, and it is not kind of the type of woman that the cop has been describing.
Yeah, he's like, he has a type. She's gonna be a 5 foot whatever blonde.
Yeah, and this is like a darker skinned, darker haired woman. Mm-hmm. We watch them interact for 10 seconds before the cops bust down the door and arrest Ray Liotta, and the woman is left very, very confused and questioning.
And then Lauren Holly opens her door, and she clearly lives in kind of a nice apartment building with a doorman who gives her a Christmas present that's from her fiance, who's nowhere to be seen. And so he sort of blew her off.
And she takes off her engagement ring, puts it in an empty wine glass, gathers her things, and leaves the apartment.
Yeah. And Ray Liotta, as he's being arrested, confronts the LAPD detective and alludes to the fact that Hector Elizondo had framed him when he was arrested the first time, and we don't really know who to believe. We're not sure whether or not Ray Liotta actually ever killed anyone. He's very insistent that he didn't, and there is this seed planted of, police corruption in terms of how he was caught the first time. Evidence was planted. Evidence being a teddy bear, because apparently that's what Ray Liotta is thought to do before he kills these women, is give them teddy bears.
Yeah. And so this kind of all speeds up to everybody meeting on the airplane. This is a very, very low attended flight from New York to LA.
On Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve, there's 11 people all said and done.
Yeah.
Or 11 passengers.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like some crew.
Pilot, co-pilot, several flight attendants, and 11 passengers.
11 passengers, and that includes Ray Liotta and the 4 air marshals that are transporting him to LA with one other criminal who we find out is a bank robber played by the incredible Brendan Gleeson.
With what kind of accent?
Like a weird...
Brendan Gleeson, who's like Irish, right?
Yeah. It's a very southern, like Missouri, Alabama accent.
Yeah, and he's clearly a bad, dangerous man.
Yeah, he's got some really shitty 90s tattoos.
Yep.
In that way that they like tried to make him look way more dangerous and harder with tattoos.
And we should also mention that the airplane, so it's, I believe, a 747, which is the kind of plane that has, I think the first class cabin is on a second floor, as well as the cockpit, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's a very big plane. It's also one of those things where it's like a movie. So the set feels like the scale is probably like 1.5 to 1 of what it really is. It's like a big plane.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room to move around in this plane. And as the agents who are transporting these prisoners are boarding the plane, the pilot goes through a manifest with them of the weapons that they've declared. And he's confirming that there are 4 guns on board. And one of the marshals is like, well, actually, I do carry a revolver in my ankle holster. And the pilot is very strict about, okay, that's not on the manifest, therefore it's not on the plane. They take the bullets out, and then that gun lives in the cockpit with the pilot for the flight. The other thing about this airplane is it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So the flight attendants establish that there has been some kind of competition between their plane and another crew as to who can decorate the plane the best for the holidays.
Yeah, make it look the most Christmas-like.
So
there's like Christmas trees and lights and wreaths.
Yeah, this plane is like decked the fuck out in Christmas decorations to a degree that feels so unrealistic and very funny. It's like cheap feeling production design, honestly.
In that like throwaway line that he's like, yeah, we were in competition. This was the losing plane. So seemingly there's another plane that is way more decorated that won the competition.
Yep. We should say one thing like about the look of this movie. It's very dark. Like the interior of the plane, even before shit goes wrong, is just really dark and lit primarily with Christmas lights, which is just a very strange aesthetic throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, so, the plane gets going. Ray Liotta is very, very charming and trying his hardest to talk to Terry, who's Lauren Holly's character, the flight attendant.
Yep.
He's trying to flirt with her and kind of like prove that he's innocent and that this is all like gonna blow over. And he's got a lot of "oh, woe is me" like lines in the movie.
Yeah, as they're getting on, Ray Liotta is interacting with Lauren Holly and one of her friends who's also a flight attendant. And again, you don't know how much you can really trust him. And he's so perfectly cast, Ray Liotta. You can never trust Ray Liotta in the best way, His sincerity is just always a little slithery, But Lauren Holly's good friend, who's also a flight attendant, the character is named Maggie and played by Catherine Hicks, who is the mom from our beloved Child's Play.
And Seventh Heaven.
Sam's beloved Seventh Heaven.
Brendan Gleeson's character mentions that he has to use the bathroom, 20 minutes into their flight. The air marshal says you can go in your pants, and Ray Liotta's character convinces the air marshals that he's a human being and he should just be able to get up and use the bathroom. And so 2 of the air marshals take Brendan Gleeson's character, and that's when things start going awry.
So they're in the bathroom, and Brendan Gleeson, has to stand shoulder to shoulder with the marshal while he pees. He finishes, and then he's washing his hands and has his, back to the sky marshal because it's so cramped, and is able to take out the soap dispenser, like the stainless steel sort of pump soap dispenser. And it has whatever, like a stem, that brings the soap up, which is made out of metal, I guess, on this particular flight.
Yeah.
And he stabs this tube into the sky marshal's stomach several times and kills him.
There is a wasted no blood comes out of the pump part of the soap dispenser.
Damn. Yeah. That'd have been great. It's also like this guy gets stabbed in the stomach, okay, and he's shocked. Fair enough. But he has like a good 20 seconds before he dies to like scream and alert.
And he does nothing.
He's just silent.
Yeah. This scene reminds me a lot of a movie we mentioned earlier, Con Air.
Yeah.
In the sense of like when the break happens on the plane, it all just, it kind of domino effects. It's very quick in the runtime of these movies.
And so Con Air is 6 months after this. 5 months.
Wow.
Almost to the day, 5 months.
And Con Air was a big hit.
Big hit, yeah.
But they're so similar. Honestly, so similar.
Yep.
But so Brendan Gleeson basically like holds up the dead guy's body at the door. So when the other marshal opens the door, he sees his friend. And then Brendan Gleeson like has taken the dead marshal's gun and he shoots the other marshal.
Yep.
So all of a sudden we got 2 dead marshals out of the 4 that are on the plane. The 2 that are watching Ray Liotta leave him to go deal with this situation. And pretty quickly, we're in a Mexican standoff where it is the last marshal with his gun on Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson has Lauren Holly hostage. Ray Liotta is saying, like, Marshall, you got to put down your gun or he's never going to get rid of the hostage. And talking to Brendan Gleeson and saying, you're a professional. You don't need to kill hostages.
It looks better for us if we have hostages.
Yes. Pretty soon, the marshal puts down his gun. Brendan Gleeson kind of like takes a hold of him and comes up with the idea that he's going to open a door on the plane and throw him out of it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, don't do that. Please don't do that. That's a really bad idea.
Yeah. But Ray Liotta has basically saved the day in terms of Lauren Holly. He's saved her life.
Yes.
And he's been very kind of calm and, diplomatic with Brendan Gleeson. And again, you're still sort of figuring out whether we can trust Ray Liotta. But this works in his favor.
Yeah, there's like a line that you mentioned where he says, like, it's better for us if you don't kill the hostage. So you're kind of like, well, is he saying us because he's a criminal, or is he saying us because we're both in this situation? But it's like he's like kind of starting to crack a little bit.
But you're still like, is he just trying to get his freedom, another chance to prove that he's been framed when he gets back on the ground?
We did forget to mention that during this shootout, a pilot, for absolutely no reason at all, leaves the cockpit and starts...
The pilot.
The pilot. He leaves the cockpit, starts walking down the stairs to see what the commotion is about, and just catches a stray bullet square to the heart and is dead in about 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's like shit starts going, guns are being shot, and he's like, oh, I better go check that out.
I gotta go see what's up with that.
I'm pretty sure the protocol is lock the fucking door.
Yeah. Brendan Gleeson and the last marshal are at the door waiting for it to be opened, and Ray Liotta shoots Brendan Gleeson, and as he's going down, he shoots the marshal. So Brendan Gleeson dies and the marshal dies. There's now Ray Liotta with a gun, and we're unsure of what side he is on.
Is this when the window is shot open?
Yes.
So like a stray bullet shoots through a window, and now the cabin pressure is like whatever is like sucking out air, as we've seen in many airplane movies. This causes the co-pilot, who's up in the cockpit still, to, I guess, like hit his head or get strangled with his seatbelt.
This is the other thing. He also gets up to leave the cockpit to go see what's happening.
Yeah.
Like truly gets up, starts walking to the door of the cockpit, and then a bunch of turbulence happens, and he flies backwards and like bumps his head
On the instruments.
And I couldn't tell if that's what killed him or if it just knocks him unconscious.
I think he's like knocked unconscious and strangled by his seatbelt. It seemed like there was a seatbelt around his neck when we find him later. I don't know. Either way, He's dead. So both the pilot and the co-pilot are now dead. Paper and all sorts of shit is flying all over the cabin.
Fucking Christmas trees and Christmas lights.
Yeah. People. There's an amazing shot of... It's almost a Wilhelm kind of scream moment where it just follows the guy as he's flying through the air in the cabin.
Truly at the 28-minute mark, because I pulled up the display, because I was like, oh my God. There's a scene in which a guy like somersaults like through the entire plane, and I was cracking up. It is so silly. An old lady goes fucking flying out of her seat.
Yep. Turbulence.
Yeah, dude. It's awesome.
Lauren Holly is able to stop the cabin decompressing by kind of plugging the hole with a briefcase.
Smart move.
Which somehow seems to work for the duration of the movie.
Literally, briefcase goes over the hole and then we never hear about it ever again throughout the entire movie. So basically, Ray Liotta now has control of the gun. He has checked the cockpit. He knows that there's no pilots in there. He goes down to see Terry, Lauren Holly's character. They're talking. They're like bringing up some conversation that they had earlier. He's saying, there's no need to worry. The autopilot's set. The other pilot is up there and we are making our descent. And after like 5 minutes, she realizes that they're not descending. So she goes back up to the cockpit to see what the issue is and realizes there are no pilots. That's when she first discovers that the co-pilot is actually dead. At this point, Ray Liotta has gathered the rest of the crew and civilians and like locked them into a like storage locker.
Yeah, something.
Storage space.
Some area in the back of the plane.
In doing that, we see him kill Terry's friend Maggie. And at this point, we know that he is very much the killer that we have heard described.
Yeah.
He talks about how he started killing squirrels and rabbits and then moved on to cats and ladies.
Yeah, he strangles her in a bathroom after locking up the rest of the crew. Okay, so now Lauren Holly is back in the cockpit. She is trying to figure out how to communicate with anyone, as she knows this plane is on autopilot and there's nobody to land it. So we're getting into like the control room of LAX.
Yeah.
Hector Elizondo is arriving there. The FBI is there, and she's able to kind of ping their location on the instruments. And then that's enough to get in contact with another pilot on a different plane who starts kind of radioing in, walking her through how to use the comm systems and communicate. And so she has someone helping her get the plane into autopilot. And ideally, right, they're like trying to avoid a huge storm that they know is coming.
It's a category 6 storm on a scale of 1 to 6.
Yeah, she goes, is it a 6 out of 10? And they say, no, it's a 6 out of 6.
Yeah. So she gets the autopilot engaged and she's in the cockpit, but she doesn't have time to reroute through the storm.
So they're going straight on.
The storm is upon them.
Turbulence is coming.
At this point, Ray Liotta goes to the cockpit to try to get her out of it by using Maggie. He's like, Maggie's really hurt. You need to come quick. And so she stupidly leaves the cockpit and goes to find her friend, finds that she's dead. Everybody else has been harbored into this closet of some kind. And they have this incredible moment where she doesn't know where Ray Liotta is and doesn't know where anybody is and doesn't know what's going on. And then she sees the flight attendant call button like going on and on and on. And Ray Liotta like stands up from a chair and he's like, Miss, is this turbulence gonna end?
Yeah, I mean, we should say that Ray Liotta is hamming it up so hard in this movie.
Unhinged in this movie.
His tongue is out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Half the time you're seeing him. It's amazing.
Face Off is after this?
Face Off is... What? Face Off is like 2 weeks after Con Air.
Oh, wow. I brought it up because I feel like Nick Cage watched Turbulence and brought
I feel like
some
Nick Cage is watching Turbulence right now.
into his performance of Castor Troy.
I'm not sure the timing is possible in that, but they are channeling something similar.
He got an advanced screening.
One of the things I really like about this point of the movie is there's a lot of speed going on.
Yeah.
There are shades of Sandra Bullock kind of learning how to drive the bus and being in charge of the bus, but you're at 35,000 feet this time and dealing with a fucking, commercial airline cockpit.
And at this point in the movie, too, it's kind of like hard to talk about specific scenes because it's like, it's off to the races, right? She knows that he's a creep.
Yeah.
He's trying to kill her. He keeps screaming about how he wants to crash the plane into LAX.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about living through it. He just wants it to crash and burn. And so she is trying to deal with him and trying to land the plane at the same time.
And now it's like storm. The storm is here. The power's out.
The plane is fucking rolling at one point,
upside down.
And it's hilarious because, they clearly had like a moving set that like was able to rotate in a circle. Watching the actors deal with this thing that's moving around them is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Another great thing about this movie is all of the exteriors, I would say 90% of them anyways, of the flight are great.
There's some really good like airplane photography in this movie.
There's really good real airplane photography, and then there's really good miniatures.
Yes.
Where it's like in the storm. There's a lot of very convincing environment stuff with clouds, and it doesn't feel small. It feels big, and it looks pretty real.
There's one shot that made me laugh. It's a shot of, it's like the camera's on an angle shooting up towards the wing and two of the jets that they just splice in during some of the storm photography. It's the one shot that I was able to notice that the camera is just on the ground. That plane is not on or moving in any way. And it's like a static shot of a wing, which just really cracked me up. But the rest of the movie is done so well that it's like, yeah, totally. Throw that shot in there. Who cares?
Yeah, so it becomes just a real cat and mouse game on this flight that's, at this point, they're in a lightning storm. It's strobe lighting for probably 15 minutes.
Yep.
It's just strobe lights and Christmas lights. It's just, and Ray Liotta
screaming,
getting drunk on champagne. It kind of becomes a horror movie at this point. There's an amazing sequence where Lauren Holly goes into kind of a front section. It could be the first class section, and Ray Liotta, you don't see him do this, you just see her discover it, has set all these dead sky marshals up like in their seats, buckled them in, given them magazines, and put out this beautiful kind of Christmas dinner spread for them. So they're all just, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something. They're all just dead, slumped over in front of a decadent meal.
I was going to say it's like the end of a Friday the 13th when the final girl is like discovering all of her friends' bodies strewn across this cabin. So they get into a couple like physical fights. She sprays him with a fire extinguisher.
Incredible.
And knocks him out, like hits him in the head with it.
Shoots him in the face with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And it's excellent looking.
And then she goes back upstairs to the cockpit. She is communicating with LAX, trying to get this plane on the ground. It's coming into LA at that point. You hear something like they're 20 miles out. Ray Liotta starts a fucking fire on the airplane. So she has to leave the cockpit again to go put that out. And he attacks her, and she's able to kind of best him and shove him down the stairs, but not all the way. And she hits a button that had like a stair cover for protection to the flight deck, comes out and squashes his foot in it.
He's trapped.
So he's trapped. During this time, she is able to get back on with the pilot and the flight crew at LAX, and she starts coming into LA. He frees himself, somehow gets access to like the control panels in the bottom of the plane.
Yep.
And destroys the autopilot.
With an axe. He's got an axe in one hand and a bottle of champagne in the other.
So they're coming into LA and the autopilot goes off. So the pilot who's on the ground is trying to talk Terry through this whole thing. In disengaging the autopilot, she has to start pulling up a little bit because they're coming in too hot.
Yeah, the autopilot's disabled, so it's not going to land the plane. So she has to basically abort the autopilot landing. But she's mid, descent. She's about to land.
Yeah.
And she pulls up at the last second, very similar to Air Force One, the great sequence where they almost kind of land.
Oh, yeah.
She pulls up, And at this point, it cuts to the top floor of one of the hotels next to LAX. And it's a kind of lounge bar karaoke room.
Christmas Eve night.
Christmas Eve. There's a bunch of people doing karaoke. There's these big windows, and you see the plane coming straight for them. It pulls up at the last second, but the landing gear comes through the window and like scrapes through the ceiling, scrapes through the bar, and then also hits a parking garage, the top floor, and the landing gear is going through cars, people running out of the way. And a truck, like a Ford.
They say
Bronco,
it's a Ford.
Gets stuck to the landing gear,
Yup.
which becomes a central part of the plot for the next 10 minutes. The fact that the plane has a Ford truck stuck to its landing gear, making it impossible to land.
We cannot land. Yeah, we can't land with this extra weight.
Because she tries to.
Yeah.
Well, no, sorry. The truck pulls her down, and there's a shot of the landing gear like scraping against the runway. But it's a shot of the truck, which is stuck to the landing gear, and it shows its tires, and they immediately like are spinning and pop. And so she can't land and has to pull back up, and she goes out toward the Pacific
To loop around to try to land again.
But at this point, the control room is kind of given up on her. She's presumably the last person alive. Ray Liotta has said that he's killed everybody else on the plane. Mm-hmm. And so they think that it's just Lauren Holly and a serial killer. Rather than risk this plane crashing into LA, they are tailing it with a F-14, like Tomcat jet, and they're gonna shoot her down.
Yeah.
And so she is pleading with them.
All I want for Christmas?
She basically starts talking to the fighter jet pilot, who she doesn't know whether or not can hear her.
Yep.
I'm still not sure if he could hear her.
He can, but it's like, I don't know why he'd be able to.
Exactly. And she's basically asking to not be shot out of the sky because it's all she wants for Christmas. It's all she wants forever.
Forever.
She says.
Yeah. The fighter jets higher ups are like, you have to take the shot. You have to do this now. So
Has the final conversation happened with Ray Liotta yet?
No, because this happens it's like, it happens at the same time.
It's all coming to a head. Yeah.
He starts to target the plane, but you can see him kind of like not wanting to go through with shooting this innocent woman down. So what he does is he targets the Ford Bronco that's hanging off the landing gear. All the while, Lauren Holly is pleading for her life, and Ray Liotta starts, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, starts cutting down the cabin door
with the axe.
And so she like kind of gets up to fight him off a little bit.
What's up with that axe? It's like a hatchet version of the very kind of curved angular axe from Reign of Fire.
I was just going to say, it's like the Reign of Fire.
It's a crazy looking axe.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, like the room that he finds it in when he's like destroying all the computer equipment, it's like the size of a small laboratory. It's like fucking insane, dude. But he's cutting the door down, and she goes off to like fight him off a little bit, and he grabs her neck and he's strangling her through the door when the airplane gunner shoots the Ford Bronco off the landing gear. So he gets kind of riled up, and there's a really good arm break.
Let's just pause for a second that this jet with presumably like a 50 caliber minigun strapped to the bottom of it, machine gun, shoots a car in midair off of a wheel. They show this car explode and just vanish, and the wheel is fine.
Yeah. It just disintegrates.
It's absolute like PS2 graphics and physics.
So Ray Liotta has his arm through the hole in the door, and he's strangling her when the explosion happens. He kind of gets thrown to the side, and she pulls his arm back, and it snaps.
Great arm break.
It's a great arm break. But what's even fucking better after that is he's standing there with his arm, like we see him, it's a shot from the outside. So you just see his body against the door with and you can't see what would be his right arm. And then all of a sudden, Lauren Holly runs at the door full speed and just jumps through it, thus crushing him with the door from the other side.
Hell yeah.
And then jumps on it a couple times, and they get into a final confrontation. You know,
she's got the gun that the pilot confiscated at the opening at this point, and has reunited it with a bullet.
They're on their descent. He's talking about how he's going to kill her and then like fly this plane into the ocean or whatever he's saying. She points a gun at him and he's like, I knew you couldn't do it. I knew you couldn't kill me. Does she say something? Is there like a one line?
He goes, you want to know why I know you can't kill me? Because you don't believe in capital punishment.
Oh, yeah.
Which has been established because he's on death row earlier in the movie.
But also this wouldn't be capital punishment. This is just straight up self-preservation at this point.
And then what'd she say? I changed my mind.
I changed my mind. And then pulls the trigger, empty, empty. And then he's like right on her and she shoots him right through the fucking head.
And it cuts to the back of him, and you just see the back of his head blow off, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And then she calmly lands the plane, and the movie ends. Like, truly.
Yeah, and she calmly lands the plane, movie ends, and who's waiting outside the plane for her with an umbrella, because it's raining? The other captain who helped her land. Are they in love? Maybe.
Yeah, that is very much what is implied in the movie, is that she hasn't been waiting around for, like, the right guy.
Yeah.
And then there's like a meet cute at the end of this fucking movie, and it's insane.
Hell yeah, dude.
But before she gets to that other pilot, it's the cop who at this point has admitted to stashing some evidence on Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and he goes, "You'd make a great cop." Never once during this entire thing is the movie about police work in any way. Like her being on the plane has nothing to do with her being a cop. Like it is such a weird line that means absolutely nothing. And then she's just like, "No, I don't want that." And he's like, "Okay," and walks off. The issue that I was like, man, there should have been comeuppance for him. We should have seen him like get in his plane or get in his car to like drive away, and like one of the airplane like jets falls on his car or something.
There's a great line where Ray Liotta is sort of in charge halfway through, and he's on the phone with Hector Elizondo. "I hope you're wearing something bright on the tarmac, because you're going to be the first one to get a plane up his ass."
Yeah, you're going to be the first cop to die with a plane up his ass. Yeah, so, I mean, that's pretty much the entire movie.
Real quickly, there's like a really like real-time protracted sequence during the entire rolling credits of everyone kind of getting taken off the plane and being looked at by medical people. And it's just like it's almost documentary style.
It's so weird.
Which I really enjoyed at the end.
It's also like we haven't seen these characters in an hour and a half. I don't really care.
It's not like Speed where you kind of get invested a little bit in everybody. Like everybody gets their own mini storyline. These people are absolute cartoons of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Before we watched this movie, I feel like when we both bought it, we were both under the impression that this movie is really bad.
Yeah.
And that it was going to be kind of like a headache to watch, or just like, oh God, how much did I just spend on this movie? And it's like utterly going to suck.
Yeah.
I like absolutely cannot wait to throw this movie on my shelf.
Yeah. It's trashy, but it's very entertaining.
It's like pure stupid trash. But like, honestly, for like a Saturday afternoon to throw this movie on, I don't understand why this didn't play on network television forever in the late 90s.
The only thing I kind of thought of during it that made me not surprised that it didn't do very well is it's pretty intense. Ray Liotta is a rapist, and you know, he strangles a woman to death in a very slow way, and it's a little.
But so is, you know, Danny Trejo is a terrible rapist in Con Air, and that's on. Yeah, honestly, that comes on at the bar all the time. Like that movie's on network television still to this day, all the time.
I wonder if it's just more macho, and you know, you don't spend as much time with Danny Trejo. Yeah,
there's also way more stars in that movie. Ray Liotta's a big name, but like Lauren Holly, you'll know from Dumb and Dumber, but that's really all I know her from.
Married to Jim Carrey for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I really enjoyed all of the kind of filmmaking practical stuff. It doesn't feel like it has the same budget as an Air Force One.
Sure.
But they, you know, a lot of it is real and a lot of it holds up. It's fun.
Don't you think you would be at the movies every week if they were dropping stuff like this?
Hell yeah. Plane. Shout out to Plane. I saw Plane.
I was just going to say, hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm absolutely happy to own this.
I fucking love this movie, man.
It's a perfect Kino.
Yeah.
4K. It looks great.
I just can't believe that this is like one of those movies that I feel like is so like of itself, right? Like the Roadhouses, the Con Airs, the movies that are just like, we're here to be like silly and entertaining. I'm so just surprised that this one isn't talked about more, because it to me, it just strikes that balance that those other movies have. Yes, it maybe gets slightly more dark, but it's just like a dumb, awesome action movie that takes place on an airplane that is also going through a Category 6 lightning storm.
Yeah.
And it's also a holiday movie.
It's just like the lesser version of so many other movies. I think that's why, it's definitely feels more in the B movie category to me.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
No. I mean, I love that stuff. I just think that's why it doesn't get talked about.
It hits all the marks that we're talking about on this episode, just in terms of like plain thrillers or the plain genre. Like, you get some turbulence, you get somebody like fucking falling over a chair. There's guns on an airplane, which always just makes me laugh so much. There's over the top effects of the era that Kurt just said. It's like a lot of it is done practically. It ages great.
Let us know what you think of Turbulence if you watch it, people, or if you've seen it. Send us a message on Instagram.
The Kino Winter Wonderland sale is happening right now, and so I highly suggest everybody go pick up a copy of Turbulence.
Okay, Sam, before we go, it's time to put wishes out into the physical media universe for titles on formats that do not yet exist.
You thinking planes? You thinking sky?
Yeah, let's keep it plane themed.
I wish for an executive decision 4K from Arrow Video.
I wish for The Aviator on 4K. Yeah, we talked a little bit about executive decision at the beginning. What's the log line, Sam?
5 miles above the Earth, an elite team of 6 men must make an air-to-air transfer in order to save 400 lives on board a 747 and 40 million below.
Hell yes.
Sign me up, dude. I saw this movie when it first came out at the LaGrange Theater. I don't remember any of it, and I know we watched it when we all lived together in LA. As we said earlier, I love a mid-90s action thriller, so I'm there for it.
Yeah, sign me up. The Aviator is Martin Scorsese's 2004 biopic of Howard Hughes.
Is this the first collab with Leo?
No, this is after Gangs of New York.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And is excellent. Just fantastic Leo, and a really comprehensive kind of look at the complicated figure of Howard Hughes. Obviously has a lot of aerial sequences, and I think would just be an amazing 4K at some point. There's a lot of really cool photography choices in this. There's like replication of Technicolor that would look really cool, I think, in HDR.
I'd love to revisit this.
Yeah, one of my like oldest Blu-rays, I think, The Aviator.
I think I originally watched this from you. Maybe that exact Blu-ray.
Probably. This is Miramax and Buena Vista. I don't know who has the rights for that stuff right now.
God, yeah, dude.
Is it Disney? I'm not sure.
There's so many good movies that are just sitting there.
Yeah, I think this would be an amazing Criterion, and they seem
happy to be releasing some of his stuff.
Yeah, so here's hoping. Okay, we have landed safely at the end of our episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Let us know if you like Turbulence. Let us know if you have any other airplane recommendations.
I highly recommend Turbulence, y'all.
A big thank you to Kimberly Wilming for producing this show. A big thank you to Patrick Laban for our music. Thank you, Sam.
I'll see you in the skies, buddy.
And we'll see you next week. We're going to be pulling some holiday titles off of our Blu-ray shelves. We'll see you then.